Madam President, today I rise to support the nomination of former Georgia Governor Sonny Perdue to serve as Secretary of Agriculture. Since the beginning of the Trump administration, the Department of Agriculture has been left without leadership. And based on President Trump's decisions over the past few months, it's clear, unfortunately, that agriculture and small towns like those all over Michigan have been an afterthought. It didn't help that Governor Perdue was the very last cabinet secretary to be nominated by President Trump. The White House then took 7 weeks to submit the official nomination paperwork to the Senate, which further delayed our hearing process. Despite unprecedented delays from this administration, the Agriculture Committee acted in a swift and bipartisan fashion to approve Governor Perdue with overwhelming support. Governor Perdue grew up on a dairy and crop farm in a small town in Georgia. He worked as a veterinarian and served as two-term governor. He has the confidence of nearly 700 agricultural stakeholders who represent groups like farmers, ranchers, conservationists, landowners, and the food and nutrition communities. He understands that the Agriculture Department has a profound impact on nearly every community across the country, and certainly every family. Whether it's bringing broadband to small towns, supporting life-saving agricultural research, feeding our children, our families, our veterans, or protecting our forests, our land, our water, our air, the Agriculture Department plays a vital role in almost every aspect of American life. Governor Perdue's leadership is desperately needed by farmers and families and all Americans who rely on the USDA. For months, rural America has not had a voice in this administration, and frankly, it shows. President Trump's budget proposal makes it clear that rural America is not a top priority for his administration. His proposal cuts USDA funding by 21%, the third largest cut of any federal agency. To examine the impact of these proposed cuts, the impact they would have on our country's small towns and rural communities, I've released a report that highlights how President Trump is turning his back on rural America. This report demonstrates how the Trump budget would eliminate the rural water and sewer program that repairs crumbling water infrastructure and is depended upon for communities all across America, and certainly all across Michigan. This would leave thousands of communities across the country without the ability to provide clean water. USDA business loans are also slated to end, undermining the creation of new jobs in areas where unemployment is already too high. And again, I can go from community to community in northern Michigan, or go the east or the west, and talk with people who've been able to start their small business with the support of USDA Rural Development Business Loans, creating jobs, communities, and really helping to form the lifeblood of small towns all across Michigan and the country. Many more critical services for rural Americans are also on the chopping block. Our farmers and our families, frankly, deserve better. We need a Secretary of Agriculture who will be a relentless advocate for our nation's farmers and the important services USDA provides. And that's why I'm supporting Governor Perdue. And it's important to stress, again, that American agriculture, our rural communities, are already doing more with less. In the last Farm Bill, we made responsible, bipartisan reforms that cut $23 billion in federal spending. And we now know that the 2014 Farm Bill policies are actually predicted to save tens of billions of dollars more than we originally had expected. But the budget cuts that the Trump administration has proposed are frankly irresponsible and show a stunning disregard for the current state of the farm economy. Farm prices are down nearly 50% from their highs just a few years ago, and producers are struggling to make ends meet. Rural America is the economic backbone of our country, and too many small towns are still struggling to recover from the Great Recession. Over the last 8 years, USDA has made important investments in rural communities, and we're beginning to see small towns across the country on the road to recovery. But there's more to do. Now is not the time for the Trump administration to turn their back on people who live in rural America. We need a strong voice to insist that the president listen to the 500 groups that are saying that agriculture, conservation, food assistance, and other farm bill services are critical to our economy and should be maintained. Rural America has waited long enough for a leader at the USDA. I'm pleased that the Agriculture Committee worked together promptly and thoroughly to review Governor Perdue's qualifications. After multiple conversations and questions, I'm confident that Governor Perdue has the experience, the judgment, and the commitment to lead this important department. In this Congress, we also have a farm bill on the horizon. And I'm confident that Governor Perdue will be a strong partner as we develop a bipartisan, comprehensive bill that works for farmers and families across our country. In my conversations with Governor Perdue, it's clear that he understands the challenges that farmers are facing from continued low prices, especially our dairy producers who are struggling because, unfortunately, the safety net that was put in place has not worked as intended, and it needs to be fixed. I'm pleased that he's committed to looking for creative solutions in the short run as well as the long run. Now more than ever, we need the next Secretary of Agriculture to be a champion for all those families across our country who live in small towns and rural communities. I believe that Governor Perdue will look past regional divides and partisan pressures to do what is best for the people we serve. I would urge colleagues to support the nomination of Governor Sonny Perdue, and I also urge this administration to start supporting the small towns and rural communities that make our country great. Thank you, Madam President. I would yield the floor.